Hello, welcome to another episode of The High Ground, powered by Premier Companies. Jeff, how are you this morning?
I'm wonderful, Sal. Yourself?
Doing awesome.
Who you got for us?
Mr. Matt Smorts, returning guest, President
Awesome.
and CEO, CountryMark Cooperative. Matt, how are you today?
I'm doing great.
Well, thank you for joining us today, but we still have the question of the day we have to get through.
That's fine.
You got an easy one. Tell us about an upcoming project or event that you're excited about, or if you don't have one of those that you're excited about, maybe one that you're not so excited about.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a great question because, you're starting to get into the holiday season. So one of the things that is happening this year, both of my kids and our grandsons don't live in Indiana. One's in California, one's in Texas. And we don't get together as a family very often, but they're all coming for Thanksgiving.
Cool.
So, which is going to be really cool. So what I'm in the thick of it right now with my wife is that we are decorating our house for Christmas already. It's October, but we don't decorate extravagantly unless the family's coming.
Yeah.
And now we're in the middle of it. So the house is a mess. We got multiple trees that we put up.
Got lights?
Got
outside?
lights. Not so much the outside of the house, but it's lights inside the house. Garland lit up on
So the
mantles.
trick-or-treaters are going to see the candy cane.
No, they weren't going to see the candy canes. I would never do that in October for outside for sure. If we do outside lights, it'll be right before Thanksgiving.
It's a great pumpkin, Santa Claus.
Yeah. So we're in the middle of it. And the thing is, so the last couple of weekends I've been working and doing that. And then at least I get to come to work and get a break from it. But my wife Stacy is like, we got to be done with this. She's over it. She's over it already, so she can start enjoying it. So we're getting about done with it. It's kind of nice. It's a little bit early.
That'll be cool.
But it's going to be fun, and our kids are excited about it because they like seeing the house all decorated, and our grandsons are 4 and 2, 2.5, so they're at that great age and
perfect age.
And the one he's never been to the house. The 2-year-old hasn't been out this way, so it'll be great.
That will be neat.
That's awesome.
All right. Jeff, are you decorating for Christmas already?
Well, and just like yourself, Matt, I have all my kids and grandkids coming home for Thanksgiving. So it's a feat to try to get them all there. And so I'm sure I know she started decorating some, but I'm sure there'll be more to come. I think the project, I've got to replace some windows and I'm dreading it because I know that it seems like any project we do on the house turns into something else. You can't just sit there and replace the windows and we're done. No, while we're at it, let's replace the kitchen. It was just, we did a wallpapering project one time that turned into remodeling a bathroom all the way down. We had it stripped to the studs. I thought we were going to wallpaper. So, yeah. So I just dread projects like that because they just snowball.
I hate those type of remodeling, and it's just such a money pit.
Yeah, and she'll listen to this, and I'll be in trouble.
Yeah, I know.
I just laugh because it's typical. I've had the same thing happen.
And it's like
a weekend project that turns into 6 weeks.
And the bathroom remodel's the worst because it's only like 3 or 4 people that'll ever see it.
Yeah,
this is true.
Except for yours, Kim. Yours is fine. I think mine is my wife has always wanted. We got a masonry fireplace upstairs. It's one of those double-sided ones. So masonry fireplace downstairs and one upstairs. And the one upstairs, it's never really drafted well. It just, I paid the bricklayer some cash to put everything in. It just never really drafted good. And plus, so we've never used it. Well, she wants those ventless gas logs to be in there. And so I just texted a buddy yesterday and I was like, hey, can you price some of this stuff out? The last time I tried to do this for her, when I lit it, I burnt the hair off of the propane off both arms and my eyebrows. And so I've never tried it since, but I'm gonna hire this one out and see if I can get it done.
I think that could turn into a new bathroom.
Probably. Time it blows the fireplace up.
Uh,
Oh my gosh.
or a fireplace in one of your bathrooms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be
Either
great
way.
too.
That would be terrible. So Matt, can you just, I tell you what, give us I know you're a returning guest, but kind of give us an intro back into CountryMark Cooperative and kind of how you still stay energized after your 30-year career or however long you've been in the career.
Oh
So
gosh. Yeah, okay. No, I've been in the refining business for 35 years, but I've been at CountryMark for almost 25.
25.
And yeah, so CountryMark, we're a regional federated cooperative. We have member owners like Premier Ag, and which we love to do business with, and we're a supply cooperative of the best fuels that you can buy in the state of Indiana and the surrounding states. We have oil refinery down in the southern part of the state. We have a proprietary pipeline that runs throughout Indiana, and we sell, like I said, we sell the best diesel fuel and gasoline in the state. So
And
come buy it.
hands down. I mean, that's a
And we're going to talk a little bit more about the
Good.
quality enhancement and stuff like that. But that's a great question about just being in the co-op. And I've been with the company now for almost 25 years, and it's the co-op system and just the co-op structure it's so great to go and look at it and see where a group of people came together, they built a company that they get to use. They get a company that they get the benefit from, and they govern it. And it's really awesome to be part of that system. And because when we are successful, everybody's successful. And I like to remind people, and I actually had a meeting with Governor Braun yesterday, and I reminded him that we're a cooperative. So when we make money, it helps all of ag in Indiana,
yes.
and the money stays here. It's not like some faceless stockholder. And so, being able to supply and have that assured supply, and then all the way to sharing in the profitability of the company, it's really it's a great responsibility. So yeah, that's what kind of keeps me energized, because it's like it's really good. And what's the next thing, and how can we improve and stay competitive and make sure that we're still giving a return to the ownership all the time.
Talked about the pipeline that CountryMark owns, and some of the original, I guess, founding owners. Up in the boardroom, we got a picture of them working and digging on the pipeline, and such a difference from 2025 to what it was 100 years ago.
Right.
With them with shovels and old trucks, and they did it. I mean, it's just nothing but time and hard work.
Oh no, yeah. Like I said, I've come when I came here, I was kind of like, wow, this is like a hidden gem to understand everything that we have, and to know that a lot of the assets that we have today kind of started in the 40s and 50s, and just it's one of those things is that you wonder if they sat around and had the foresight to be able to go and say, hey, we want to get these products throughout the state, and to be able to go do that. And then now we take it for granted. It's like, this is amazing that they were able to build the infrastructure that we have today.
How did they land on the site for the refinery being at Mount Vernon? Is there a story behind that?
You know what? There is a story. I'm not great at it, but I've read a couple news articles. So the refinery started in 1940. And before that, so the cooperative, when oil was discovered in southern Indiana in Griffin in 1939, and at the time, the cooperative system probably had 92 members because of all the counties. I don't know if there was a lot of mergers back then, but most of the counties in Indiana were participating in the cooperative. For whatever reason, Posey County lobbied, and they lobbied hard to put a because they said, hey, let's build a refinery. We can do our own manufacturing of lube oils and fuels. Okay. And Posey County Co-op must have lobbied very hard, because it's like, hey, we're right next to the Ohio River. we're in the area where they found oil, and if this oil production comes on, we're going to have the feed source and all that. And they convinced the cooperative and the board at the time to put it in Posey County in Mount Vernon. And so
Worked.
it worked. And it's just like, you think about that as like, because you guys have been in the cooperative system for a long time. It's like the cooperatives, I mean, they're cooperative, they're competitors. They talk, they try to get things, and you know how things get done. It's like there's a lot of talk, there's a lot of wrangling between membership and stuff like that. And it just, so it just turned out to work out.
Yeah, good. And then there's just human nature of somebody else getting something that you don't have.
That's true too.
So
yeah.
But
go ahead. I was going to ask about you guys just did like $100 million project at Mount Vernon.
Yes, we did.
Is that completed or in the works?
Nope, it's completed. We completed so our distillate hydrotreater unit, and I've talked about this the last time. It's where we remove sulfur from diesel fuel to meet environmental regulations. We had $100 million investment. It was completed in June when we started up the new process. And this process is a little bit different. What we were modifying is we implemented what we are calling ISO technology. And you probably don't recall, and I'm a chemie, so I'm not going to delve into it with the details, but it basically, we wanted to be able to increase our diesel fuel production. And we put in a catalyst technology in this distillate hydrotreater process to be able to go and maximize our diesel fuel production. And even in the wintertime, because one of the things that we pride ourselves in at CountryMark is quality. And in the winter, we always winterize our diesel fuel, lower the cloud point. Mm-hmm. Well, prior to this investment, we would have to change yields in the refinery to make sure that we kept like the waxy material out of diesel fuel that will cause the cloud or cause plugging in the winter when we get these cold winters in Indiana. Well, this ISO technology, what it actually does is rearranges the molecule. I get to say molecule. That's great. It rearranges the molecule so that wax will not form, and it lowers the cloud point. But it's able to keep the bigger molecules in the diesel fuel and rearrange them so they don't wax out. But then we have still the bigger molecules in diesel fuel are ones that have the most energy. And so before, when we would do lower cloud, the energy per gallon would kind of decrease in the winter. But now it's maintained at a high BTU value or energy value per gallon. So now we're getting low cloud point and you're still getting better fuel.
So will we not see our mileage in diesel trucks? The mileage won't go down in the winter when you're doing winter blend?
It will not.
That's awesome.
Now the mileage is going to be the same. Now mileage probably goes down a little bit in the winter because they idle more in the winter.
Yeah.
True.
But we're able to go and recoup that heavier, more energy dense part of the diesel fuel and keep it into the winter blend now, and still maintain a very low cloud point. And it's super exciting. Yeah. I mean, I'm a refining guy, so I'm kind of a refining nerd. But when you can go and take our premium product, and we pride ourselves on diesel fuel and the quality of our diesel fuel, and then we're able to make it better. And this is really make it better. It's just exciting. So I was talking about that in March. We got it implemented, started up in June. And after a couple months, they're still working out some kinks and stuff in the operation, but it's been running well. But when we go and get the products, and we've looked at the products and we said, hey, we're going to make this better quality diesel fuel, it actually is better quality. I mean, the results have been exactly what we thought.
More than met your expectations.
More than met our expectations.
Did you have to do this on a small scale basis to kind of try it? How did you know that going from just concept and into this, what you have now with $100 million investment production, what was those steps like?
Yeah, that's a great question. Good thing that there are people in this industry that do research and development, and we don't have to. Is one. So one of the things that we got to this point is that we've always, and we'll probably talk about my favorite subject, the renewable fuel standard, later. But we were always looking for a way to offset renewable fuel standard mandates. And over the years, we've looked at different configurations, different technologies to be able to do like a renewable diesel. We stumbled across, this is not stumbled, but worked with one of our catalyst suppliers who's a technology licensor. And part of the driver of this project was also to be able to run soybean oil and co-process it with our diesel fuel. It just so happened when we look at that technology and then this ISO technology that can rearrange molecules, it was like the perfect fit for CountryMark in our quality proposition.
Neat.
And so we came to that, and after many iterations of looking at other things to do from an RFS standpoint, we actually found a technology that's out there that does both from renewable fuels and meets our quality. And so it was it's a lot of work, a lot of turning over stones and things like that, but it's turning out to be excellent.
That is awesome.
And then in September, no, it was October now. October, we finally got approved to generate RFS credits, and we have processed soybean oil. We co-processed soybean oil with our diesel fuel. Ran the test. We had to do a performance guarantee with the licensor. The performance guarantee turned out to work. The testing was perfect. So we bought off on their design, and we ran some renewable feedstocks, and so yeah, it's been great.
Neat.
So we can say we're going to burn the bean.
We're really. I mean, we had burned the bean when we did biodiesel.
Yeah.
We're going to be burning the bean again with renewable diesel, with our premium diesel X4.
Nice.
With ISO technology.
So now there'll be, you all would change the fuel, the diesel, to winterize it. So now there'd be no more of that. Whatever, it's just.
We're not going to have to rely heavily on kerosene blending or undercutting the denser molecules, and we're seeing cloud points that are minus. I mean, we guarantee a 3 cloud point, but we've been negative, so we're like -3, -4. And I haven't seen the most recent numbers. That sometimes when we were trying to figure out where we were operating it, we had some -10s. But the energy density of the diesel was still exactly how it would be like in the summer. Nice. So, I mean, we've seen some extremes, and it's kind of like, hey, this is really doing what.
That's remarkable.
This is really doing what we thought it was going to do, what the technology provider said, and that. So when all of those things kind of come together, it's like a huge win.
Well, I mean, you think about different trucking or excavating companies or anybody, and lots of equipment sitting around, and they may fill it at different times of the year, and this takes a lot of the worry out.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So you don't have to worry about whenever you filled it or putting anything, treatments in the tanks. That's just awesome.
I think it's gonna end up from a CountryMark customer standpoint and our membership, because we've done a lot of work over the years to train customers to prepare for winter, from turning over tank turnovers and making sure you don't have summer fuel left anywhere and all of those things. And as we get better at knowing how this process is going to run and how we're going to be able to maximize quality and things like that, eventually I'm hopeful that we will be able to go away from we don't want to go away too much from it. The marketing and supply people will yell at me for this because we got people in a good cadence, but it probably we'll have way more flexibility and still be able to protect the customer on during the winter.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah.
and for our members and selling our fuel, that should be an advantage that they should be able to sell. Those attributes they'll be able to sell that, and that we will have the supply. So
Yeah. Good deal. Well, I guess change gears a little. What about California? What are those guys up to out there?
yeah, we talked we talked about that in March, and it was a big push with this administration that California was going to ban the internal combustion engine, and Congress did a Congressional Review Act over that. There was a waiver that EPA had to give California to be able to do that, to ban the internal combustion engine. Congress reviewed it. They overturned it. Trump signed it, and now it's going to be in the courts. Obviously, they litigate after that because California still wants to ban the internal combustion engine. But from an industry standpoint, I think that California does not prevail in the litigation, but who knows? It'll be years. But and if that's the case, then banning the internal combustion engine kind of goes away, and it kind of lets the market decide over time and things like that. And I think that's best for consumers, and it's better for well, obviously it's better for our industry because we're a liquid fuels provider, but it's better for the consumer because it's just I believe it's a good technology that makes transportation available to more people.
Yeah,
for sure.
You briefly mentioned the renewable fuel standards.
Yes.
So we used to hear them called RINs all the time.
Yep, RINs are the credits.
Okay. What and I haven't heard anything in the news lately, but obviously you guys are in tune with what's going on there. What's the latest with the RINs?
Well, RINs are run about $1 is what the cost is for a credit. There's still a lot of people that, I mean, everybody has to meet, any refiner or importer of fuel has to meet an obligation that the government puts on you. Okay. As a small refiner like CountryMark, we can petition the government if we have disproportionate economic harm, and we can get an exemption from that. And actually, we've had years of litigation with the EPA that we actually won a year or so ago, and we finally we did get some small refiner exemptions, which was a benefit for CountryMark, because this year, up until that point, we were losing about $16 million. And so that's a benefit. We're still going to go so we got exemptions from 19 through 24, but all those years we complied with the renewable fuel standard. And so every year, that cost for compliance for us was probably between $30 and $50 million. Okay. Well, the latter exemptions in 23 and 24, we were actually able to go and sell those credits back into the market and make some money. The ones before that, though, the EPA said, well, they're expired. Oh. And so it's like they didn't really give us the relief that they should have, because they really need to give you the economic relief. Mm-hmm. So we're still going to go down the path of arguing with them with regard to that. But that's from a small refinery exemption. It doesn't really change how we behave from a CountryMark standpoint. We still blend ethanol. We're still advocates for ethanol. We're supportive of E15 if the legislation is right, and all of those, and we'll still have future obligations because none of those exemptions are ever guaranteed. So we have to live in that world. The obligations for 26 and 27, RIN credits are about $1 right now. So if you think about that, RIN credit is $1. If you're buying gasoline at 10 cents a gallon or 10% ethanol, that's 10 cents a gallon that it's adding to the cost of that gallon. Okay. the 26 and 27 obligation that have been proposed are like the biggest obligations that the EPA has ever pushed. And actually, there's been enough work and analytics in the industry that there's not going to be enough feedstock to meet the demand.
What
wow.
does that mean?
So that means if you think about that, if there's not enough feedstock to meet the renewable obligation, that means that we're not going to generate as many credits, and credits are going to they're going to increase in price. And if it's supply and demand.
They're making a rule that you can't comply with.
That we won't be able to meet.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of at an infeasibility type thing. Now that hasn't been finalized yet, and there's a number of different proposals back and forth, and there's comments and all of that. And it's kind of a quagmire right now. And when you throw in these small refinery exemptions, and then people want them to be like, I get exempted, but so they want my obligation to go to a bigger refinery and reallocate that to them. And so there's a fight about that. It's just all of these things that have happened in the last probably 6 months has just thrown it's a quagmire. And it's interesting to me that we had at one point, American Petroleum Institute, which we are not a member of, but it's a huge API, it's a huge oil and gas organization, right? And they had been working with the Renewable Fuels Association and Growth Energy, and they were all aligned with trying to get year-round E15 legislation, okay? And so they would talked about it. The refining industry wasn't necessarily in our trade group that we are in. We weren't necessarily keen on the way the legislation was, but I don't think we're really that resistant with E15 if it's done right. And so from a legislation standpoint, because you always get unintended consequences, you're trying to avoid those. Well, 2 weeks ago, API pulled their support for E15. And they basically said, so they, where they had alignment before, they basically came out and said, yeah, we're not aligned anymore with that because of all these renewable. The time has changed now, and the market is different, and the renewable fuel obligations are different, and it's a different world that we're living in. So now we're not as supportive of E15. So basically, we had gone to a spot where people were working together and getting along, and we might get something done, to just going right back to the beginning, right back to the beginning again, where everybody goes. And I know I've talked about this in this room, is that everybody's going to go off into their respective corners and start yelling again. And so who knows? This is just the wonderful renewable fuel standard, and it's a never ending saga of misery and misery for some and benefits for others. I think, there's benefits. There's benefits to renewable fuels, and there's benefits. That's why we're supportive of ethanol. That's why we did our investment at the refinery. If we can use soybean oil and do that just if it's economic, we're going to do it. And from a compliance standard and things like that. But when you have this volatility in the market, it's very hard to plan for anything.
And I think that's your point, is that yes, you're supportive, but there's always unintended consequences.
Yeah.
And when you make legislation, it looks good now, and just with the American Petroleum Institute changing their position, it may not look that like it did in 7 or 8 years. You just have no idea what'll change in the industry or the market.
That's exactly right. And it's just like the ag economy too, right? There's volatility in the ag economy. Everybody knows we're in commodity markets, and you do big changes in commodity markets, and you end up having to go through a cycle.
Yes.
It ends up being 2 to 3 years before it starts to correct itself, and it finally corrects itself. Everybody makes money again for 2 to 3 years, and then what do? We're the same in the oil industry. We'll overproduce, and then we'll compete away the margins, and we'll go away again to losing. And it's just, being in this industry for as long as I've been in, I know that when it goes up, it will definitely come down.
Yeah.
But eventually it'll come back around.
Yeah. Oh.
And that's why you have to be competitive. So at least when the upside happens, you're still around.
So before we change gears here a little bit and maybe talk about some other projects, but small refinery exemption, I think it's hard for people to kind of grasp that in the world or in the market that you compete in. Can you kind of give us examples of I mean, we think of CountryMark being huge,
Yeah.
but in comparison wise, when you talk about our refinery, CountryMark's refinery, compared to some of these others that we hear exiting California and
Right.
and things like that.
So I can throw some numbers at you. So we process now about 38,000 barrels a day of crude oil. Okay. So we've expanded the refinery and it is big for us. The Whiting refinery in northern Indiana processes 450,000 barrels a day of crude. So they're like over 10 times bigger than we are. And then we have Robinson, Illinois, which is a close refinery. That's about 220,000. Catlettsburg, which is another marathon facility over in Kentucky. I think they're about 260 to 300,000.
Wow.
Canton, Ohio, I know is a small refinery for marathon, and they run I think they're at 80 to 100. So when we talk about a small refinery, especially from a CountryMark standpoint, we're like a fifth the size of the average refinery in the country. And we're just dwarfed by the biggest refineries. I mean, the biggest refineries we have in this country are 650,000 barrels a day of crude.
That's amazing.
That's exactly right. So
Can't even imagine that much product.
I know. So we're very small. And then the other thing.
So your niche is quality, not quantity.
Yeah, ours is quality. It's quality, and it's just being part of the cooperative. It's the cooperative system. I mean, the co-op owns that refinery, and we're there to supply the products that our members need for their business. The other thing, which gets up to another uniqueness about how we operate, is that we're always looking at diesel fuel. Because our cooperative system is diesel fuel centric. You need it for ag, you need it for construction, we need it for school buses, and all of those things that are doing diesel fuel. A regular refinery is concentrating on gasoline, and they'll make 65 to 70% gasoline, and only 30% to 35% diesel fuel. That gives them a lot of ability to blend more ethanol. Well, at CountryMark, because we're diesel-centric, our mix between gasoline and diesel fuel is about 50-50. We're trying to make as much diesel fuel as we can because that is what the cooperative system demands. And so we're probably about 48% diesel and 52% gasoline. So the way we run our refinery is way different than the average refinery in the industry.
And we talked about before, you don't have the opportunity since you don't have to do that much gasoline.
That's right.
They just can't use the ethanol.
That's right.
Because
you're not going to put ethanol in diesel fuel, at least not today. And that's why we did renewable diesel, because at least it's a diesel fuel, and that's why we would do that.
Jeff, one more topic, Matt.
Sure.
Blue hydrogen and ammonia. What is this about?
Yeah, blue hydrogen and ammonia. And I said I was talking to the governor yesterday, and it was about that project, blue hydrogen and ammonia. So at CountryMark, one of the things that we were always looking at is that we're a supply cooperative, right? So we're here to supply the membership what the needs are for the future fuels. I don't think that ag is ever going to go electric. The extension cords aren't long enough. And when you
And the batteries aren't big enough.
their batteries aren't big enough, and when you go to harvest, we know it's a 24/7. You know, you got to get her done.
We do
type of
everything in
thing.
small windows.
That's exactly right. So what is the next fuel going to be? Well, you know, there was these. There was a program with the previous administration that had these hydrogen hubs. They were talking about trying to spur hydrogen production and potentially be a fuel of the future. And I know that utilities are using some hydrogen, and it's all about trying to lower the carbon footprint of fuels and energy in the country, right? And so we started looking at hydrogen, and if there is a potential to get assistance from the government, that would be great. Where, hey, maybe we use hydrogen at the refinery, but if this is going to be a future, and we can get some support from the government policy to be able to produce hydrogen, then let's look at it. Well, that kind of went and said, yeah, there might be possibilities for that support. And then we're also going, and it's interesting that I was reading an article, and it was like strategy and future strategies and what you do. Well, part of what people do is they go back and look at your history and what you used to do. Well, you know, CountryMark used to be in a partnership with to make ammonia. So we produced ammonia years ago, back like in the 70s and 80s.
It was Coffeeville, wasn't it?
I don't know if it was at Coffeeville. I didn't get into the details, but I know that we had ammonia production, and it's like, okay, well, we're a farmer cooperative. Our farmers use ammonia. We need nitrogen compounds, and you take hydrogen. You use hydrogen to make ammonia, and so we're looking at, hey, can we decarbonize ammonia production and sell it to the Indiana farmer? Because everybody's still trying to, even though policy on decarbonization has slowed down with this administration, decarbonization globally is still happening. Okay. And so by making blue hydrogen, and what blue hydrogen or ammonia is that we capture that carbon dioxide, and then we can sequester the carbon dioxide. So it ends up being a low carbon product. Okay. So the thought was, if we can make ammonia and it's low carbon intensity, that would help the Indiana farmer be lower carbon with their products, corn, and then be able to compete more globally in a carbon constrained world. Because a big part of the ag footprint is using the ammonia. Yeah. Because ammonia comes from natural gas, and so it's a fossil fuel. And what we're going to try to be able to do is lower the carbon intensity by capturing that carbon and sequestering it. So we're still working on it. If we can go down this path, it's a huge project for CountryMark. It would be a game changer in how we look, for sure, if we get into hydrogen and ammonia production. It's exciting.
And the hydrogen, that would be, you talk about hydrogen hubs. And so that would be actually a combustion engine on hydrogen. Is that?
So, yeah. So like in our area, there are some fleets that have moved to using hydrogen as a fuel. So we could go and sell hydrogen just for fuel and for transport. There are utilities that have been using hydrogen mixed with their natural gas to produce power, to kind of lower the carbon intensity of the power production, where we have utilities in the area where we could sell that into a pipeline. But the vast majority of the hydrogen that we're using today would go to the ammonia production. But then the thing is that now we have hydrogen production, and if hydrogen ever becomes the fuel source of the future, maybe we don't make as much ammonia, and we have the hydrogen production capability there. So it just gives us a lot of flexibility long into the future.
Wow.
From an energy standpoint. Yeah, I tend to think a little bit long term.
That is.
And I've heard some things about, some of the blue ammonia plants that are going in. the market for it is actually some of these other countries that can't produce it, but they want to buy that, and they come back and that helps them meet their requirements.
No, that's exactly right. So some of that may be, and that's where we're just starting to get into this. And I think like the local market, you would just have to compete with their regular ammonia source. There's no premium for it or anything like that, but there could be a potential to export it or to use it.
And you're on the river.
And we're on the river, so it could go in barge and it could go to export. It could go to, they're starting to use like blue ammonia and green ammonia as fuel for trans in the ocean. So some are starting to use that for fuel. So, I mean, it's a really just starting out to be more prevalent, but ammonia ends up being a fairly decent fuel source and a carrier of energy. And that's where I think that there's going to be a lot more growth in it just globally. Not just, I mean, even though ag might be flat, there's going to be other uses for ammonia going forward. So it kind of has we're doing a couple, we're just about ready to kick off a couple market studies this is a big investment. So we want to make sure that we got our eyes wide open to understand what the market looks like. So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Always is when we have Matt in here. Jeff, do you have anything else?
I mean, we could go on.
I know. I think I've got like 20 more questions after he's been talking.
I know we always say that, and it's kind of like, well, next time we won't, if we can avoid the RFS, I'll try to do it, but I think I'm obligated to talk about it every day.
I think so.
Even I've said this before, even on the weekends, my wife knows more about the RFS than most people do.
He's a pillow talk. RFS.
That's exactly right.
Well, Matt, thank you again for joining us, and we always appreciate your insight and you making time to come and share your knowledge on the podcast.
Well, I really appreciate the opportunity. I think I think it's great that you guys are doing the High Ground podcast. This is really good. I know that people are listening and watching it, and getting out our message is important because we're being a cooperative. People don't know what cooperatives are, but I'll tell you, it's a great business that we have. Being in energy and what we do, we bring so much value to the world that people just need to know that there's a lot of value that we bring.
That's good.
So
that's a good one to end on, I think, Jeff.
I think so too.
All right. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
All right. That's another episode of The High Ground, powered by Premier Companies. Thank you all very much.